So winter is fast approaching. This is Thanksgiving in Canada in October. Soon be getting some snow. This is my bobcat I got for clearing off my snow in my driveway and my parking lot. So I need to get this up and running. I do have a straight blade, power angle blade, but the problem is the auxiliary hydraulics, which normally would hook up there underneath that solenoid, they're not working on this one. They only work in one direction. It's a bit too much trouble for me to be able to fix the auxiliary hydraulic on this one to make it work. So instead, I took this Unimount, Western Unimount plow power unit that I had, and I converted it, just hooked it onto the back of my power angle blade so that I can get this up and running. I figured I'd get this up and running quicker than I could fix the auxiliary hydraulics on the Bobcat, just for the winter, for temporary, and next spring when I got time I'll try to fix the auxiliary hydraulics. So just so you know, this hose here, so this one I had to go to Princess Auto and get these two hoses that go from here and just to here. I had to get those made up at Princess Auto because Bobcat uses different fittings than what Western does. So I made up a hose that would fit from the Bobcat over here to the Western hydraulics here. This particular one here operates your driver's side. So it's the opposite when you're looking at it this way. It's the driver's side ram is what this would normally work, and this one over here normally works your passenger side ram. So since it's a single ram down there, I just followed the same thing and hooked them up that way to there. Now on this side over here, these are your valves which redirect your flow, so you can have a left and right turn and rise and lower your blade. This particular one I'm going to be using the boom from the Bobcat to rise and lower the blade, so I don't need to have this one working, and that happens to be this solenoid right here on this particular Western mount plow. So what you have here is, this would be S3, or S1, sorry. This is S1, S2, and S3 is the one that's down lower here. Okay, and that's what activates your valves. And what I got here that I downloaded from the internet was a couple of diagrams on the Western plow showing you each of those. This particular one here, this page here, was important because it shows you which valves you have to activate in order to turn your blade in either direction, and the rising up and down I'm not too worried about. Okay, so I just needed to be able to operate these two, and that just shows you how to hook up your hydraulic hoses. Okay, so the way this works is the male flat spade connectors on the inside towards the motor. So the ones closest to the motor, that's your ground. So I just simply hooked up a ground here, and there's a ground on this one underneath that goes in there, and I just ran the wire over here to the ground on the motor. Okay, and there's the positive that goes out to feed back to your battery through your solenoid. Alright, these ones on the outside are for to activate that solenoid. So here, and then the outside one down here below. Okay, and the way this works is that once you activate your solenoid, whatever button you use to do that, you also want to activate your motor at the same time. The motor doesn't go constantly. You only activate the motor when you want to angle the blade. So when you press the button, you want the same button that works your solenoid here to activate your valve control. At the same time you press that, you also want it to activate your motor as well, so your motor will pump. So the way I've done that is this particular solenoid here goes straight back to the battery. The ground one goes straight past this solenoid, and I've had it so it runs all the way down and goes into the plug for your hydraulic unit, which goes back up to your hydraulic unit there, the positive and the ground. Okay, and this particular one here is the two smaller ones that hooks up to your button to be able to activate your solenoid here to bring power to the unit. So I also drew power off here for the solenoids as well. And so what I got done, you follow the diagram. When you want the blade to angle to the right, you only activate solenoid 2. and the motor at the same time. See, the motor has to be on, and then solenoid 2 has to be on. When you want to angle to the left, your motor has to come on, and then S2 and S3 have to come on. So when I'll eventually show you how I'm going to hook the buttons up inside. This video is just to show you the quick how to run it, and then you can figure that stuff out on your own. So what I've got done here is a simulation, since this brings power, positive power. This one right now is only hooked up to S2, and that's it. So once I connect this button to here, it'll turn on both the motor, and it will also turn on, it should turn on that solenoid, and it will angle it to the right. So let's see if I can get to that in the picture. Okay, and then this white wire, I have this, so I can put this quickly onto solenoid 3. I'll hook that up to solenoid 3. Spade connector. And so now that will activate solenoid 2 and solenoid 3, and then when I touch this wire here together, it'll activate the motor and activate the plow to turn to the left. So just a quick video on that. I will follow up with how I'm going to hook the buttons up inside, and maybe a brief wire diagram showing you how I did the logic of being able to press 1 and the power to the motor, and then press 1 and 2 at the same time and run the power to the motor, because I couldn't find any buttons out there that could do that kind of stuff. But this should give you enough if you ever need to do this, whether it's on a truck or a plow or a tractor or whatever you need to do, and you have access to one of these power packs to be able to hook it up and do the same thing.